Hey everybody. Happy Monday. Gotta check something real quick. All right, beautiful people. It is Monday. Happy Monday. It is January the 3rd, 2022. 2022. Day 344 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets. And of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 1012. Today, y'all, we're finishing up the book of 3rd Maccabees, chapter 7. And then we're going to go into the last book, 4th Maccabees, and we're going to read chapter 1. And after that, hopefully, we'll finish reading chapter 13 on the Power Twins, prayer and fasting. All right, y'all. So let's do this. Go ahead and bring up the Shema chapter. Mom, shalom, shalom. Trina, that's Wabu. All right, y'all. American Translation 6, yes. All right, y'all. We'll get right to it. A call for wholehearted commitment. Audrey, shalom. These are the commands, decrees, and regulations that Yahuwah, your God, commanded me to teach you. You must obey them in the land you are about to enter and occupy, and you and your children and grandchildren must fear Yahuwah, your God, as long as you live. If you obey all his decrees and commands, you will enjoy a long life. Listen closely, Israel, and be careful to obey. Then all will go well with you, and you will have many children in the land flowing with milk and honey, just as Yahuwah, the God of your ancestors, promised you. Listen, O Israel, Yahuwah, our God, he is God alone. And you must love Yahuwah, your God, with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. And you must commit yourselves wholeheartedly to these commands that I am giving you today. Repeat them again and again to your children. Talk about them when you're at home and when you're on the road, when you're going when you're going to bed and when you're getting up. Tie them to your hands and wear them on your forehead as reminders. Write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Yahuwah, your God, will soon bring you into the land he swore to give to you when he made a vow to your ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It is a land with large, prosperous cities that you did not build. The houses will be richly stocked with goods that you did not produce. You will draw water from cisterns you did not dig, and will eat from vineyards and olive trees that you did not plant. When you have eaten your fill in this land, be careful not to forget Yahuwah, who rescued you from slavery in the land of Egypt. You must fear Yahuwah, your God, and serve him. When you take an oath, you must only use his name. You must not worship any of the gods of the neighboring nations, for Yahuwah, your God, who lives among you, is a jealous God. His anger will flare up against you, and he will wipe you from the face of the earth. You must not test Yahuwah, your God, as you did when you complained at Massa. You must diligently obey the commands of Yahuwah, your God, all the laws and decrees he has given you. Do what is right and good in Yahuwah's sight, so all will go well with you. Then you will enter and occupy the good land that Yahuwah swore to give to your ancestors. You will drive out all the enemies living in the land, just as Yahuwah said you would. In the future, your children will ask, what is the meaning of these laws, decrees, and regulations that Yahuwah our God has commanded us to obey? Then you must tell them, we were Pharaoh's slaves in Egypt, but Yahuwah brought us out of Egypt with his strong hand. Yahuwah did miraculous signs and wonders before our eyes, dealing terrifying blows against Egypt and Pharaoh and all his people. He brought us out of Egypt so he could give us this land he had sworn to give to our ancestors. And Yahuwah, our God, commanded us to obey all these decrees and to fear him so that he can continue to bless and preserve our lives as he has done to this day. for we will be counted as righteous when we obey all the commands that Yahuwah our God has given to us. We gotta watch that. We gotta put screws back in there. Is it an emergency sign?
Loki, yeah.
Is it a private? Wait, is it a private emergency? Because I'm live. Is it a private emergency?
I don't consider private, but I just have something to say. Have they ever heard of
Pause. Is it like? Yeah. Is this a dream you're trying to tell me?
Well, yes and no.
Okay, okay, well, let's wait until after this, right?
It's just a little paranoid. It's like it made me a little paranoid.
Okay, well, you're woke now. Just pull it together. Wait till I'm done. What? What?
Whatever it was that was messing with me, I saw, and it messed with stuff in my room. Which is a problem. I haven't had that happen in years.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that in a minute. What you got going on in that dungeon of yours?
I don't know. Look.
All right, we'll talk about this, Jeremiah. We'll talk about this. Go do a sweep of your room. Think about it.
Usually when some entity does that, if you get mad or something, they'll leave you alone. No. I got mad. The dude ramped up.
Anger only empowers it, Jeremiah. What are you talking about?
No, it's like if you show resistance and you show them you're not scared, they usually back off. But not doubting yourself, because they can see past stuff. If you're not doubting yourself, you're actually honestly annoyed with them, as if there was a little kid, they'll leave you alone. But this one, whole different ballgame.
Well, you may have reached a whole different ballgame, son. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Sleep. It kept, every time I went to sleep, it just, the first one took just going.
Wait a minute. Pause, Jeremiah. This is going to take a longer conversation than what I can give you at this moment. I need to get this done, then we can address that, okay? Okay. Sorry, y'all. Okay. He's had some spiritual, supernatural happenings going on with him today. So we got to address that after we done with this. Robert, shalom. Okay, y'all.
What's up, Robert?
Last chapter of 3rd Maccabees. Chapter 7. All right, y'all. King Ptolemy Philopater to the commanders throughout Mitzrayim and to all who are set over affairs, joy and strength. We too and our children are well, and Elohim has directed our affairs as we wish. Certain of our friends did of malice vehemently urge us to punish the Yahudim of our realm and a body with the infliction of a monstrous punishment. They pretended that our affairs would never be in a good state till this took place. Such, they said, was the hatred borne by the Yahudim to all other people. They bought them fettered in grievous chains as slaves, nay, as traitors. Without inquiry or examination, they endeavored to annihilate them. They buck-led themselves with a savage cruelty worse than Scythian custom. For this was severely threatened them, yet with the clemency which we are wont to extend to all men, we at length permitted them to live. Finding that the Elohim of heaven cast a shield of protection around the Yahudim so as to guard them, and that he fought for them as a father always fights for his sons, and taking into consideration their constancy and fidelity towards us and towards our ancestors, we have, as we ought, acquitted them of every sort of charge, and we have dismissed them to their several homes, bidding all men everywhere to do them no wrong or unrighteously revile them about the past. For know ye that should we conceive any evil design or in any way aggrieve them, we shall ever have as our opposite not man, but the highest Elohim, the ruler of all might. From him there will be no escape, as the avenger of such deeds. Fare ye well. They was like, yep, we ain't messing with them no more. We don't want him as our enemy. Goodbye. Fare ye well. Jen shalom. When they had received this sefer, they were not forward to depart immediately, They petitioned the king to be allowed to inflict fitting punishment upon those of their race who had wittingly transgressed the holy Elohim and the Torah of Elohim. They alleged that men who had for their belly's sake transgressed the ordinances of Elohim would never be faithful to the interests of the king. The king admitted the truth of this reasoning and commended them. Full power was given them without warrant or special commission to destroy those who had transgressed the Torah of Elohim boldly in every part of the king's dominions. Their priests, then, as it was meet, saluted him with good wishes, and all the people echoed with the Hallelujah. Then they joyfully departed. Then they punished and destroyed with ignominy every polluted Yehudi that fell in their way, slaying thus in that day above 300 men, and esteeming this destruction of the wicked a season of joy. They themselves, having held fast their Elohim unto death, and having enjoyed a full deliverance, departed from the city, garlanded with sweet flower wreaths of every kind, uttering exclamations of joy, with songs of praise and melodious hymns. They thanked the Elohim of their fathers, the eternal Savior of Yasharal. Having arrived at Akko, called from the specialty of that district, rose-bearing, where the fleet, in accordance with the general wish, waited for them 7 days, they partook of a banquet of deliverance, for the king generously granted them severally the means of securing a return home. They were accordingly brought back in peace, while they gave utterance to becoming thanks. Yep, that's what that's saying. They were accordingly brought back in peace, while they gave utterance to becoming thanks. And they determined to keep these days during their sojourn as the days of joyfulness. These they registered as sacred upon a pillar, when they had dedicated the place of their festivity to become one of prayer. They departed unharmed, free, abundant in joy, preserved by the king's command, by land, by sea, and by river, each to his own home. They had more weight than before among their enemies, and were honored and feared, and no one in any way robbed them of their goods. Every man received back his own, according to inventory, those who had obtained their goods, giving them up with the greatest terror. For Elohim Haggadol, remember Haggadol means the great Elohim. For Elohim Haggadol wrought with perfectness the wonders for their salvation. Blessed be the Redeemer of Yasharal unto everlasting. Amen. All right, and that was the last chapter of 3rd Maccabees, and now we're going to start 4th Maccabees, and my page is ripped. And this one has a few chapters. That's shorter. This one has 18 chapters, but the chapters are shorter. Okay. All right. No, like when you came down here, I had just started. I was doing my opening call for remembrance. Okay, you the one that got dressed. Jeremiah, it's going to need to wait, right? The world is like not going to end before I get done. Learn to calm down. Think about it. Give me some time. You don't have to just blurt out everything right then and there. It's called self-control. You have to learn how to hold things. And then when we can address them, address them. Like, you're not going to die like right now. You're really not. Y'all willing that won't happen. What?
This is like a spot on the wall situation.
Okay, well, we'll address it in a minute, Jeremiah, because I'm going to have to sit here and I'm going to have to listen to it all the way through. And then you're going to have to tell me exactly what happened in your room. Right? Okay, so the first chapter of 4th Maccabees. As I'm, Auntie, Grand Rising, Belinda Brown. Okay, all right, son. As I am going to demonstrate a most philosophical proposition, namely that observant reasoning is absolute master of the passions, I would willingly advise you to give the utmost heed to philosophy. For reason is necessary to everyone as a step to science, and more especially it embraces the praise of prudence, the highest virtue. If then reasoning appears to hold the mastery over the passions which stand in the way of temperance, such as gluttony and lust, it surely also and manifestly has the rule over the affections which are contrary to justice, such as, hold on, I gotta fix my page so I can read that. Okay, I might have to take that up so I can see the words. Such as, hold on, let me start that sentence over. If then reasoning appears to hold the mastery over the passions which stand in the way of temperance, such as gluttony and lust, it surely also and manifestly has the rule over the affections which are contrary to justice, such as malice, and of those which are hindrances to manliness, as wrath and pain and fear. It's pretty much talking about if you don't get a hold of yourself, your emotions and all those things, and gluttony, things that take your body out of control, the misaligning of your chakras, it's going to have the rule over you. We read about that in the New Testament too, right? But let's give you a little bit more detail. How then is it, perhaps, some may say that reasoning, if it rule the affections, is not also master of forgetfulness and ignorance? They attempt a ridiculous argument. For reasoning does not rule over its own affections, but over such as are contrary to justice and manliness and temperance and prudence, and yet over these, so as to withstand without destroying them. I might prove to you from many other considerations that observant reasoning is sole master of the passions, but I shall prove it with greatest force from the fortitude of Eleazar and 7 brethren and their mother, who suffered death in defense of virtue. For all these, contemning pains, even unto death, by this contempt, demonstrated that reasoning has command over the passions. For their virtues, then, it is right that I should commend those men who died with their mother at this time in behalf of rectitude and for their honors. I may count them happy, for they, winning admiration not only from men in general, but even from the persecutors, for their manliness and endurance, became the means of destruction of the tyranny against their nation, having conquered the tyrant by their endurance, so that by them their country was purified. Okay, so he's talking about that mom a few days ago when we read about the mother and her 7 sons and how she went through and killed all of them, right? And made the mother watch. And remember, there was a whole, I did like a whole example about us and what I said. I would hope that I would be as strong as they were if that should ever happen, right? Because how many of us would chicken out down the road? They killed the first brother. Okay, you done pissed us off now. But once they start dismembering pieces and stuff, it's now starting to play with your mind. Do you really want to endure this pain? All these things. And on that day is when we talked about some of the, I said, I wonder what helped them be so strong. Clearly, it was their faith in Yah. But there was also the day where I talked about the day that I found out that you could turn off the pain receptors in your body to where you won't feel pain, hot, cold, elements, all those things. And some people are actually born that way, or something happens to them and it clicks something in their brain and it turns off those receptors, right? And so they have to be very careful and watchful for their lives, because they could get burnt and not even feel it, right? Pain receptors trigger us that something is wrong. But say if their head was turned in a separate direction, and so maybe their foot was on something hot or something like that, they wouldn't feel it, because nothing would be getting that signal up to the brain. I was thinking, don't quote me on it, but the more I learned, the more I wonder about some things on how, I don't know, just thinking about us today. I don't know. I'm just like, I'm gonna run or we're gonna fight to the death, but you ain't gonna torture me, right? I'm gonna do all I can. They gonna have to strap you down or something, right? But all 7 of her sons were murdered in front of her face. This is who he's referring to. And I think that was in the beginning of 3rd Maccabees or towards the end of 2nd Maccabees when that story was going on. Okay. The question, therefore, is whether reasoning be absolute master of the passions. Let us determine then what is reasoning and what passion, and how many forms of the passions, and whether reasoning bears sway over all of these. Reasoning is then intellect accompanied by a life of rectitude, putting foremost the consideration of wisdom. And wisdom is a knowledge of divine things, of men, and of their causes. And this is contained in the education of the Torah by means which we learn divine things reverently and things of man profitably. Let me read these whole couple scriptures again. Hold on, listen to this. I'm going to go back up to 13. Hold on, no. Let me go back to 9. No. I'm going to go to 8. He said, but I shall prove it with greatest force from the fortitude of Eleazar and 7 brethren and their mother, who suffered death in defense of virtue. For all these contending pains, even unto death, by this contempt, demonstrated that reasoning has command over the passions. For their virtues, then, it is right that I should commend those men who died with their mother at this time in behalf of rectitude, and for their honors I may count them happy. For they, winning admiration, not only from men in general, but even from the persecutors, for their manliness and endurance, became the means of the destruction of the tyranny against their nation, having conquered the tyrant by their endurance, so that by them their country was purified. Okay. So what it's saying is, you go back and read it, it even astounded those who were persecuting and torturing them during this time, that they stood so steadfastly and didn't give in to the tortures. Like, no, we're not turning against our master, Yah, and we're going to continue to keep his Torah, even to our very death, right? And the more they tortured and persecuted them, the more they wonder about what caused them to stay so strong, right? Okay, look. And by this, even after that got done, some of them that did it, it was like, forgive us, we're going to serve this God that you serve, right? There is no strength that is able to be found anywhere except for clearly where you guys have found it at. Show me. Teach me. Right? Look. For they, winning admiration not only from men in general, but even from the persecutors, for their manliness and endurance, became the means of the destruction of the tyranny against their nation, having conquered the tyrant by their endurance, so that by them their country was purified. But we may now at once enter upon the question, having commenced, as is our wont, with laying down the doctrine, and so proceed to the account of these persons, giving glory to the all-wise Elohim. The question, therefore, is whether reasoning be absolute master of the passions. Let us determine then what is reasoning and what is passion, and how many forms of the passions, and whether reasoning bears sway over all of these. Reasoning is, then, intellect accompanied by a life of rectitude, putting foremost the consideration of wisdom. And wisdom is a knowledge of divine things. And wisdom is a divine, I'm reading wrong. And wisdom is a knowledge of divine and things of men and their causes. And this is contained in the education of the Torah, by means of which we learn divine things reverently and things of men profitably. And the forms of wisdom are prudence and justice and manliness and temperance. The leading one of these is prudence, by whose means indeed it is that reasoning bears. Hold on, let me read it first. Oh, okay. It was throwing me off. I was reading it wrong. Okay. The leading one of these is prudence, by whose means, indeed, it is that reasoning bears rule over the passions. Of the passions, pleasure and pain are the two most comprehensive, and they also by nature refer to the soul. And there are many attendant afflictions surrounding pleasure and pain. Before pleasure is lust, and after pleasure, joy. And before pain is fear, and after pain is sorrow. Wrath is an affection common to pleasure and to pain. If anyone will pay attention when it comes upon him. Let me read it again. Wrath is an affection common to pleasure and to pain, if anyone will pay attention when it comes upon him. Oh yeah, that's true. I think about it. You can clearly see that what he just said. I'm gonna read it again. Wrath is an affection common to pleasure and to pain, if anyone will pay attention when it comes upon him. You know how we say that today? There's a thin line between love and hate, right? Think about it. Think about it. It starts off as affection, and then in an instant, it'll turn to wrath. There is a thin line between love and hate. There are many attendant affections surrounding pleasure and pain. Before pleasure is lust, and after pleasure, joy. And before pain is fear, and after pain, sorrow. Wrath is an affection common to pleasure and to pain, if anyone will pay attention when it comes upon him. And there exists in pleasure a malicious disposition, which is the most multiform of all the affections. In the soul, it is arrogance and love of money, and vaingloriousness and contention, and faithlessness and the evil eye. In the body, it is greediness and gormandizing and solitary gluttony. The evil eye, in here it says the evil eye. The evil eye, he is probably, okay, so when we hear the evil eye, sometimes we think about you looking at somebody wanting what they got. But the evil eye can also mean, it's like a, how can I say it? It's almost like the church would say a form of witchcraft. You can use the evil eye. Y'all know, okay, so you know how you kind of see it in a movie, somebody give you the eye, right? And normally it's like, oh, I better straighten up. I know what that means. But in some places, if they really understand and they use it, I'm not telling y'all to use it or even try to find out how to use it, but it's actually a way to curse somebody, like the evil eye, right? So I just learned about that a couple weeks ago. I'm like, what? So I started looking into it. I'm like, well, shut your mouth. We need to be careful with this, right? So now when I hear that, I'm looking around and I'm observing the surroundings and the person that's talking about it or referring to it, right? And there's actually somebody I came across and they told you how to do it. I'm like, why in the world are you putting this up here? Okay. But yeah, okay. In the soul, it is arrogance and love of money and vaingloriousness and contention and faithlessness and the evil eye. In the body, it is greediness and gormandizing and solitary gluttony. As pleasure and pain are, therefore, two growths of the body and the soul, so there are many offshoots of these passions and reasoning. The universal husbandman purging and pruning these severally and binding round and watering and transplanting in every way improves the materials of mortals and improves the materials of the morals and affections. For reasoning is the leader of the virtues, but it is the sole leader of the passions or of the emotions, right? Observe them first through the very things which stand in the way of temperance, that reasoning is absolute ruler of the passions. Now temperance consists of a command over the lusts, but of the lusts some belong to the soul, others to the body, and over each of these classes the reasoning appears to bear sway. For whence it is otherwise that when urged on to forbidden meats, we reject the gratification which would ensue from them. Is it not because reasoning is able to command the appetites? I believe so. Hence it is then that when lusting after water animals and birds and four-footed beasts and all kinds of food which are forbidden us by the Torah, we withhold ourselves through the mastery of reasoning. For the affections of our appetites are resisted by the temperate understanding and bent back again, and all the impulses of the body are reined in by reasoning. Yo. What we have been talking about, right? Pretty much what he's saying. Some people talk themselves into doing something, right? Talk themselves meaning they reason themselves into doing things, right? Or wow, it's not a bad thing that I eat pork, even though scripture commands us not to, right? Pigs were not made for human consumption, right? Really, all of the animals, they were not made for us to feast upon, but that's another whole conversation that you gonna go to blows with, especially with the Hebrews and the mistranslation of the Torah and the adding and the taking away, right? They can go for blows for that. I used to be there until I really understood a little bit more that we're not supposed to be eating any sentient beings, right? I'm like, holy crap, right? Look, so it's reasoning that either gives way to the lust of our flesh, where we go in full force, or we're going to do this thing. I just reason this out. Oh yeah, we can do this, right? You reason away common sense. You reason away understanding, but it is also on the flip side of that, you can keep from doing these things that you want to do, but you find yourself so hard to stop doing things sometimes. By proper understanding and teaching, it gives you the strength to keep those things at bay and make the right decision, right? Which is the same principle we're using while we're learning about some of these mystical things and some of these secrets, giving you proper understanding so you're not swayed by your emotions and improper teaching, especially from the church, right? Because church uses a lot of emotion. They sway your emotions with music and a lot of different things. So we have to walk through education. We literally have to go back to school in order to break down this, to break your state, this spell that they put over you and catch hold of your passions and your emotions and keep you ignorant of things and keep you away from things by playing with your emotions. Now we have to break it down in its in its most simplest form, right? Now we got to do a little bit of school so you can see what's right before your eyes, right? Somebody sent me a video of this woman preacher. She's a she has a really powerful commanding voice, right? And it's like one of them old church mothers, and she could it's that they're saying she could preach fire down from heaven, right? And I saw myself listening to it, and it immediately caught hold of my emotion. I'm like, stop, you ain't about to do this to me today. So I had to stop it. I stopped it because I listened to about 5 minutes of it, and I found myself. Remember how I told y'all the other day? Sometimes you go to church and it's like a spell. I think it was Marie that mentioned. She said it's like they put a spell on you, and it really is. They are commanding your emotions, right? When you don't control your own self, you leave yourself open to be commanded by everybody else in their powerful voice and their power of reasoning and persuasion, right? What I had to do, I had to cut her off altogether. After I cut her off, I went and did a little bit of research on her. I had to learn about you first before you come in here and catch me. Stop it. The music, because she had music and everything playing behind her with her voice. And her voice was amazing. It captivated me just that quick. This was just the other day, y'all. Her voice captivated me. But I knew exactly what it was, and the way it grabbed me, I was like, I know to stop. Stop it right now. I cut you off. Let me do a little bit more research on you before I listen to your message, right? And when I did that, I learned a little bit about her. I'm like, okay, where she come from? Yep. Okay. And so I looked at some of the services and the people's reactions in the services that she was preaching at. I had to put it on mute. That's what I had to do. I had to put it on mute so I couldn't hear her. I was just watching what was going on in the service and the different people. I was looking at the different mix of the men and the women in the background and stuff. And I'm like, okay, all right, I got your number. So then after I did, then I realized what was going on. I was like, I have to really, I was able to shut that portion off where she was playing with my emotions and actually listen to what she was saying, right? Now, what she was saying was cool, but as you get through some of that message, they slipping that and I ain't gonna tell you who it is. But I'm just giving you an example of this right here, the reasoning, what it said. They began to slip in that you know how you have big services or revivals or whatever, and they have somebody that's like really commanding and can control your emotions, and they have them to do the offering. That's what they brought her there for. I'm like, oh, okay. I saw what was happening. I get to keep my money again another day, right? And although she was like the main headliner on this event, they still use her to collect the money. And it was crazy. I'm like, yeah, see, this is what I'm talking about. But I really like this 4th Maccabees as it gets into some of these things. That's why I had to slow down and read it just to make sure you guys was understanding. You might want to go back and spend some time reading this by yourself and let it soak deep down within your shanana. Okay, so, all right, y'all. But you got to be careful. Learn how to control your own self and your own emotions, right? Okay.
That reminds me of a boss battle or what that was. And it also reminds me of a principle.
A principle.
Never take what people say literally, but look around and look at your surroundings.
Okay. Look, y'all. So let's go to walk of the power, walk of the spirit, the walk of power. And jump right back in here where we left off at. Toward almost to the middle of the chapter. Okay. So we stopped at the section that was titled Fasting Doesn't Move God. Personally, I thank God for fasting because many times I have come to a place where I didn't know how to go on in God. I didn't know how to break the last barriers of flesh down. In those situations, I found fasting to be a tool and a means to an end. It was the supercharger I needed, combined with the praying and the Holy Ghost, to push me over into victory. But we make a mistake if we think that we can move God with our fasting. How can we move someone who has so expressed his willingness to move on our behalf? Romans 8:32 makes it clear. He that spared not his own son, but delivered him up for us all, how shall he not with him also freely give us all things? Our fasting doesn't move God. It moves us to a place where we can receive from God. Fasting destroys the hold that the flesh has on our lives, so that instead of operating out of the flesh, we can continually operate out of the spirit. You see, God isn't the one holding the power back. If he had his way, every one of us would be operating in raise the dead type of power tomorrow. The next section is entitled Fasting Helps Preserve the Old Wineskin. Let's take this a step further. In Matthew chapter 9, verse 14 and 15, the disciples of John the Baptist asked Jesus a question about fasting. It took me a long time to understand Jesus' answer. Then came to him, Jesus, the disciples of John, saying, Why do we and the Pharisees fast oft, but thy disciples fast not? And Jesus said unto them, Can the children of the bride chamber mourn as long as the bridegroom is with them? But the days will come when the bridegroom shall be taken from them, and then they shall fast. The day that Jesus is talking about is the change from the old covenant. The day that Jesus is talking about is the change from the old to the new covenant. It's our day. Then all of a sudden, for no apparent reason, Jesus goes on to say this. No man putteth a piece of new cloth unto an old garment, for that which is put in to fill it up taketh from the garment, and the rent is made worse. Neither do men put new wine into old bottles, else the bottles break, and the wine runneth out, and the bottles perish. But they put new wine into new bottles, and both are preserved. And that's Matthew chapter 9, verses 16 and 17. Let's catch what Jesus is saying here. The disciples of John came to Jesus and said, "The Pharisees fast often, and so do we. But we have noticed, Jesus, that these men who follow you don't fast at all." And then Jesus answers, "No, they don't have to fast while I'm with them. I'm the bridegroom." In other words, at that time, the disciples were between two covenants, the Old Testament and the New Testament. And before Jesus sent the 70 disciples out, he literally put his anointing on them. The disciples cast devils out and raised the dead. When they came back and talked to Jesus about what they had done, they were more shocked that demons had come out than the demons were. Luke chapter 10 verse 17 says, "And the 70 returned again with joy, saying, 'Lord, even the devils are subject unto us through thy name.'" But you see, it was Jesus' anointing that they were walking under. So in essence, Jesus says, "No, while I'm with you, you won't have to fast because I put my anointing on you. But the day will come when I am taken away, and there will be a change of covenants. On that day, you will fast. And would you like to know why you will fast in that day?" The disciples say, "Yes, that's the question we're asking you." Jesus says, "I'll tell exactly why you will fast in that day. Because you don't put new wine in old bottles and new patches on old garments." So as I meditated on Jesus' answer to the disciples of John, I thought that was his answer to why we're going to fast under the new covenant. They asked him a question about fasting. What kind of answer is it to say you don't put new wine in old bottles? I don't think I understood half of what Jesus said in those early days of my ministry. I finally came to understand what Jesus was saying. The moment you are born again, your spirit is seated in heavenly places with Christ Jesus. But unfortunately, he had to leave you in the old garment or old wineskin, this earthly body. One day, a trumpet will sound, and this earthly body is going to be transformed from corruptible to incorruptible. Quote, "In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump, for the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed." 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 52. Y'all, like I said before, we're going to get into that and how that really happens in the body and how your body is literally, this little thing hanging out the back, how your body is literally renewed each time, right? It's almost like you could say the fountain of youth if you are disciplined enough to do it, make it a lifestyle. It will literally begin to change your body. Like you hear that before I say that, let me think about this. Let me just say this. It'll restore your body and you will live longer. I was about to say say this thing we kind of hear a lot, but I don't know. That wasn't a good example. That wasn't a good example. Okay, so but just know when you understand how this literally takes place in the body, this will literally begin to heal your body from the inside and from the inside out, and it will literally lengthen your life. Okay. Can you imagine our bodies being glorified in the time it takes a person to blink? At that moment, I won't own the body anymore. That was given to me from the loins of the first man, Adam. Let me read that again. At that moment, I won't own a body anymore. Okay, I got it. I'm sorry. I'm reading too fast, not understanding what I'm saying. At that moment, I won't own a body anymore that was given to me from the loins of the first Adam. Instead, I will be a manifested Son of God, born of Jesus Christ, comprised of spirit, soul, and glorified body. The rapture is the next great event in the timetable of God's church. We talked a little bit about that. We're going to get into the details of this, y'all. Remember, talking from a Christian perspective. But if you understand, you can kind of keep going through it and understand what's really being said. And a lot of times, people teaching this, they're just teaching a story and they're teaching it with the wrong understanding, right? So ignorantly, sometimes they teach you and don't even themselves really understand it, or they understand a different version of it, so to speak. The rapture is the next great event in the timetable of God's church. But meanwhile, as generations of saints can testify before us, we are still wearing an old garment or old wineskin that is dying day by day and is capable of sin. When I belonged to that ultra-holiness church, people would tell me that it was the devil who was tempting me to sin. And I understood that. But I didn't understand what it was in me that wanted to agree with the devil. I wanted Galatians 5:16 to read this way. This I say then, walk in the spirit, and all the warrings and lusts of the flesh will go away. But it doesn't say that. It says, this I say then, walk in the spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. That's why Jesus said, when I am taken away from you, there will be a change of covenants. Your spirit is going to be seated with me. But unfortunately, I'll have to leave you in the old wineskin. That's okay, though, because fasting is going to have the same effect on your old wineskin as if you went out and bought a new one. Fasting will preserve your old wineskin, so the new wine, my power, can operate through it until I give you a new wineskin, a glorified body. Ooh, if I just had a few moments to explain this a little bit more, but we got to get through the chapter. Okay, so as we understand, and I keep saying this because I'm going to get to it, I'm going to start sharing a little bit more about the cerebral spinal fluid today, right? I got some of my things together, so I'm going to share what happens. So by reading this and actually understand what's happening to the body, your soul is seated with Christ in heavenly places, i.e. the wisdom being connected to y'all. Once you clean your body up, your old wineskin could be considered the lower half of your body, right? And once you reach the gates of heaven, right, to actually get in, everything else has to be cleaned up. Everything has to be in alignment so everything is flowing properly, right? And you have to be moving and operating in love. That gives you the key to unlock the next door or the next chakra, so to speak, or get to the next level. And once you enter there, that your they call it the third eye, or the seat of the soul, the seat of the teacher, where the seat of the teacher sits waiting for you when a student is ready, the teacher appears, right? When you get to that level, you begin to understand more supernatural things, like you get spiritual downloads and wisdom and understanding just like comes to you in a moment, right? Prayers are answered faster. You can see things, open visions, or out-of-body experiences. Some people call them. Church calls it open visions, right? But it's the same thing. When you get to that level, it causes the old body, as you begin to clean these up, the old body, the flesh, is actually rejuvenated, right? And as you get those things in order, you could be actually dying with sickness and disease. But as you begin to align the chakras or clean up your life, begin to stop eating so much, overburdening, your body begins to repair itself. So in this process of regeneration, right, until the old wineskin can be made new, you get a new regenerated, glorified body, all the way to the point, and I'm still working on it, right? Because I definitely ain't got a glorified body yet. But when you get that glorified body, or accessing an avatar state, when you can literally be just literally walking in the spirit at all times, it takes time, it takes practice, it takes cleaning up every area of your life. Betwabu, Marine, betwabu. It takes time. It's the regeneration of this old wineskin, right? So while this is happening, the old wineskin is being preserved until it can be filled afresh with the new wineskins. But when a new wine is poured in, the entire old wineskin would have been regenerated. It will be regenerated, right? And it seemed like your life begins to reverse, or the age, it seemed like some people are more healthier at the end of their life. It's like you found the fountain of youth, right? You look better at 80 years old than you did when you was 30, right? What are you doing? And you'll find this common. You're seeing it more and more over here in the West, because now we're understanding some of these things, and we're literally trying to cleanse our lives up through fasting and some of these different things that can actually reverse the sickness and disease without the drugs of the medical profession or pharmakia. Jen, I saw your message, and it is the doctors who are practicing true witchcraft, right? It is them, pharmakia. I learned about that a little bit. But your old wineskin will begin to be made new. But when we get more into that in the coming days, I'm going to explain a couple things. Remember I told you we're going to get into a little bit of what they call astrology, right? And it's not really astrology. That's just the name that was put on it. But it's a piece of the puzzle that we need to know, that we need to understand. Instead of just throwing spiritual terms at you and the Lord downloaded to me, I'm going to have to take you and show you how he showed me, right? To remove all the spookiness, all the mysticism, all the only prophets and apostles get, that's a bunch of crap, right? No disrespect, but if you're not taught, and this was common knowledge back in the day, they were taught this, so they didn't look at it as all spooky or that's witchcraft. Stay away from that. No, it's like Encanto, right? Did y'all go watch this? We don't talk about Bruno, no. We don't talk about Bruno. I've been talking to Bruno. Bruno is a representation of the family members who have access to higher realms of spirituality, right? And you got other family members. No, don't go there to witchcraft. Don't go talking to Bruno. We don't talk. Don't mention Bruno's name. Nope. Bruno is very much a needed piece of the puzzle, right? And a lot of the Bruno family members are not in the West. They're in the East, right? And the West teaches you not to talk to Bruno. We don't talk about Bruno, no. Because Bruno will open your eyes. Bruno sees visions. Bruno, no, right? Bruno, no. So a lot of our family members is in like Africa and India. That's where Bruno is at, right? Bruno, remember how their rooms... Remember how their rooms represented, there was like an extension of their gift. It was like their place where they can grow their gift. And depending on what their gift was, showed what type of room they had, right? And Bruno gift, when you saw Maribel going looking for him, she's like, why are there so many stairs in here, right? But I noticed as I began to pay attention to some of the movies that kind of put hidden messages in there, those with those type of gifts, it's always like they're in a desert place. It stairs. Why are all these stairs, sand and dust? Oh, I need an open space for these visions, right? I need the space so I can see the vision. We have to be able to interact to see what's going on, right? So we are going to talk about what's inside Bruno's room, right? We're going to talk about what's inside Bruno's room and what Bruno has been trying to share with us. Did everybody say, don't your dad's witchcraft is of the devil? No, it's not, right? And Bruno has been ostracized from the family because nobody understands Bruno's gift, right? And why Bruno's gift is a very important piece of the puzzle for the entire family, right? We don't talk about Bruno. If we don't talk about Bruno, the entire family house crumbles to the ground, right? But somebody needs what Bruno has in order to connect the family. Listen, let me tell you what Bruno was trying to tell you. Everybody has been affected by Bruno. Everything Bruno said has come to pass. Everything Bruno has said has come to pass. Remember, if you go watch, I'm gonna put the song We Don't Talk About Bruno, the little clip. It's like almost 4 minutes. I'm gonna put it in the community section today. Pay attention. Listen to the song and enjoy it a couple times, right? Learn the words to it. But then I want y'all to pay attention to the different people, what they say, right? And they talk about prophecy and Bruno. It's literally in the words of the song. Nobody wants to hear the prophecy. His prophecies always come true. He told me my fish would die next day, dead, right? Then the fat guy, Bruno, told me he was all nice, gut all sucked in. Bruno told me I would have a gut. His shirt buttons popped off. Now he got a big old gut. Then you got this priest with the collar. He told me I would lose he come singing. He told me I would lose my hair. He had this fabulous looking hair. He told me I would lose my hair. And he goes and snatch it off. Now I have a bald head. I was hollering, laughing because I understood it right. Look, I want to hear about Bruno, Jen. We're going to talk about Bruno. We're going to talk about Bruno, right? So a lot of people, a lot of family, a lot of Israel, if you go to some of the YouTube channels, and I'm going to keep just using code words and movies. they don't want to talk about Bruno, right? They ostracize Bruno, right? One in particular, they said witchcraft of the devil, don't listen to him. We know, we done looked into it a little bit, and I'm like, oh, really? Have you? And it's a really well-known ministry online, Hebrew community, right? They're pretty level-headed, but they're known for ostracizing Bruno really badly, right? And I notice how that ministry has a lot of influence. I go through looking at the comments and who's there, and I look, I'm nosy, right? So I'm not just gonna look, oh, forget you. I'm seeing who's there, who's commenting. So you will rarely see me commenting on other people's stuff, because I want to keep my identity hidden for a little while, right? While I'm doing my research and finding out who's really who. I'll go to your channel. I'll see how long you've been there. I'll go through your videos. I'll start checking you out. If you got personal videos, I will actually sit and listen to your videos. I may never respond, right? Some people I will respond to. I'm like, okay, they cool. I was like, I enjoyed your, video. I will respond to some people. But especially Israel, is especially woke Israel that's ready to leave out of captivity Israel. Some of them brethren and sisterin, right? They really don't like Bruno, right? Because they misunderstand Bruno. They do not understand Bruno, and why Bruno's gift is so important to the family, right? Bruno's gift is very important to the family. Bruno sees things that are coming, right? And they prepare for things by not talking about it. But what happened? The house crumbles, right? We're going to talk about it a little bit, right? So I'm going to show y'all some of the things I found in Bruno's room, which when you hear them, that's why I said, guys, don't get hung up on the terms. I'm going to say some terms that are off-putting, and it's only off-putting to those who have been raised in a church, whether you in the West or even in the East, where you've been infiltrated as well to turn against Bruno. I'm going to say some terms that's going to be off-putting, that's going to seem occultic to you, simply because they put those terms there. They're like gatekeepers to keep you away. Oh, yep, that's the word. Stay away from it. Witchcraft. Keep us safe. Don't go. Nope. I'm going to teach you the proper way about it from what I've learned. I don't know everything, but doggone it, the things that I learned is going to set you free. It's setting me free, right? And fear was something that I dealt with all my life. That was the biggest thing. And now I understand why the spirit of fear attacked me all my life. Because the way I'm set up, the way I'm designed to go talk to Bruno. And I realized that. That's why I research and I look into things. That's why I be like, look, I'm going to share with y'all what I got out of here. I know how to separate the good from the bad. I ain't telling y'all to go in there, because y'all might go in there and get stuck. I don't know that you're ready for some of that stuff. I'm going to tell you, this is the good. And once you grow to a spot where you can keep your footing, then you can go venture out a little bit more, right? But I'm going to tell you what's in there. I'm going to tell you what I found in there, good and bad. And I'm going to tell you, okay, so this is this. I wouldn't do this, just like I told you about the drugs. People access the spiritual realm with drugs, and it works. I'm telling you. I know it works. It works, right? In my early days, I wasn't necessarily a drug head. I didn't really smoke weed to get high or whatever. But I can tell you it works, because I did used to smoke weed. Not a big weed smoker, but I know what happens. And I know it mess with the pure gift, because it's designed to heal if you use it the right way, how it was designed. But you can also use it and abuse it to take you to places that your body would take you if your body was in its working proper order, if you fed it appropriately and made sure it got everything that it needed. Those drugs that the world gives you, street drugs or pharmaceutical drugs, it's designed to replace what's missing in your body. And you have to take that, because your body is now no longer producing its natural source of this. So we're going to create a drug that mimics this so you can get that going on in your body. But it actually destroys you. We need to figure out how to restore and fix what's been lost, depleted, the natural way. And that's why natural drugs will help do that. But you can't overdo that either, right? So that's why I say we gotta learn We got to have like a little health class. We got to do a little bit of A&P so I can show you some of the things that won't seem so spooky that I found out in Bruno's room, right? In his tower. All them stairs. It's a lot of stairs. It's a lot of sand, right? But I'm going to show you where all that's there. We going to talk about Bruno. Yes. Okay, look. Okay. So I said all that when I read this paragraph. I'm going to read it again. It's about the old wineskin, but let me just read. That's why Jesus said, when I'm taken away from you, there will be a change of covenants. Your spirit is going to be seated with me, but unfortunately, I'll have to leave you in the old wineskin. That's okay, though, because fasting is going to have the same effect on your old wineskin as if you went out and bought a new one. Fasting will preserve your old wineskin so the new wine, my power, can operate through it until I give you a new wineskin, a glorified body. All right, also, I didn't finish my comment, what I was saying about the astrology. We're going to learn a little bit about the astrology and the zodiac signs, right? The 12 zodiac signs is also a representation of like the 12 tribes or the 12 disciples. You will see these, but just they call it something different and everything. But all these points to there, but it's all referring back to the body, right? The Hebrews might not like me a little bit when I get to the 12 tribes. Well, I'm going to show you where it's set in your body. But we got to deal with some of the truth, because then I'm going to help move you over a couple notches, right? You know how a plane flies? And if it gets off a couple notches, you down off in somewhere like almost 1 billion miles away where you should be. We need to knock you back over a couple notches so your perception can be adjusted appropriately, right? And then when we hit that, it's gonna deal with this how can I say it? And it's not gonna just deal with Israel, but because a lot of Israel is here, but it'll help you see the bigger picture. And it'll take away that how can I say it? I'll say it this way. It's going to kill that whole race thing. And one is better than the next, right? But you're going to realize how all this wisdom, it wasn't just for one set of people. It was for all the human race, right? We're literally all one people. Like, although we're different colors, we're different colors, shades, and sizes, but of the same species, right? Like I said, you can look in nature and you can see that there are different species, but you can look at humans and tell that they are one species. It's just different variations of that same species, which is why we're compatible when we have intimate relationships with the different races, right? We ain't popping off no type of hybrid like a henny or like a horse and a donkey, where you would get a henny or what's the other one? A henny or a mule. That's not happening with the human species. We're still getting humans. It's just different variations, but it's the same type of everything going on the inside of us. That makes any kind of sense. Because if you pull off our skin, everything looks the same. You would just see like the different bone sizes, but we all got the same things on the inside of us. That's how you can tell we're one species. But when we talk about this one particular thing, and we talk about the tribes, right? And tribes is actually even, it was taught that way on purpose to kind of further hide wisdom. But as we learn about it, tribes, tribs, ribs, 12 ribs in your body, we're gonna talk about it. It's a sad thing when a preacher's old wineskin burst in full view of the entire world, spilling out the new wine because the vessel that carried it wasn't strong enough to maintain it. That situation brings a reproach on the gospel. Perhaps if that preacher had known a little more about fasting, his old wineskin might have been better preserved against sin. So fasting has the same effect on your old wineskin as if you had gone out and bought a new wineskin. Fasting preserves the old wineskin against sin. It helps mortify the deeds of the flesh while the new wine operates within the old wineskins. The next section is entitled the 40-day fast of Jesus. Yeah, the saints get real finicky when talking about that, Marie. We can learn much about the purpose of fasting by looking at the 40-day fast Jesus went on when he faced Satan in the wilderness and defeated him. Then was Jesus led up of the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterward and hungered. And when the tempter came to him, he said, If thou be the Son of God, command that these stones be made bread. But when he answered it and said, It is written, Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. Then the devil taketh him up into the holy city, and setteth him on a pinnacle of the temple, and saith unto him, If thou be the Son of God, cast thyself down, for it is written, He shall give his angels charge concerning thee, and in their hands they shall bear thee up, lest at any time thou dash thy foot against a stone. Jesus said unto him, It is written again, that thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. Again, the devil taketh him up into an exceeding high mountain, and showeth him all the kingdoms of the world, and the glory of them. And he said unto him, All these things will I give thee, if thou wilt fall down and worship me. Then said Jesus unto him, Get thee hence, Satan, for it is written, Thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve. Then the devil leaveth him, and behold, angels came and ministered unto him. Matthew chapter 4, verses 1 through 11. As I read this passage of scripture, I wondered what was the reason for Jesus' 40-day fast, and why did Satan challenge him at the end of it? When discussing this with others, the answer I often heard was something like this. The fasting reduced Jesus to the weakest state of vulnerability. In that weakened state, Jesus showed the supremacy of his power over the devil by not giving in to temptation. But in reality, the opposite is true. Jesus fasted 40 days in preparation for facing the devil. Why? Because he knew that fasting shuts down the flesh and strengthens us, not weakens us against the devil. Why was Jesus led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil? Because he, as our substitute, was being tempted in our place. And then after he overcame the devil, he could turn around and give us the perfect standing that he had obtained from defeating the devil in the temptations of the flesh. That's why Jesus could later say in Luke chapter 10, verse 19, Behold, I give unto you power to tread upon serpents and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you. So then fasting has the same effect on our flesh as it had on Jesus' flesh. It braces us against the temptations of the devil and helps us to mortify or to shut down the flesh by enforcing the perfect standing Jesus had already given us. In order to understand how perfect and powerful this standing is that Jesus has given us over the flesh, we must learn what Jesus had to withstand to obtain it. You see, nothing can be declared perfect unless it cannot be proved. Nothing can be declared perfect unless it cannot be improved upon. This means that the standing Jesus has given us over the flesh and the devil could only be declared perfect if it had withstood Satan's most diabolical testings and schemes. Jesus had to be subject to the worst that Satan had, the worst torments, fears, pressures, and cares, the worst temptations of lust and riches. This was the entire reason Jesus was led into the wilderness. He was on a mission from God as our substitute to obtain for us, as part of our redemption, a perfect standing over the flesh. Now we can enter into God's presence, armed with the standing of grace he has given us, not because of what we have done, but because of what Jesus has done. For we have not an high priest which cannot be touched with the feeling of our infirmities, but was in all points tempted like as we are, yet without sin. Let us therefore come boldly unto the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need. Hebrews chapter 4, verses 15 through 16. There before the throne of God, we can find mercy to help in our times of need, our temptations, testing, and trials. In order for Jesus to deliver this kind of standing to us, he had to face Satan on 3 levels: spirit, soul, and body. This confrontation had to be carried out not in Jesus' deity, but in his humanity. That's why Jesus said, "Man," referring to his humanity, "shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God." Matthew 4:4. The pressures, the torments, the loneliness, and the fear that Satan attempted to put on Jesus are indescribable. They can only be described as similar to the horrors one may see in the lower level of an insane asylum where people reside whose spirits have been completely taken over by demons. The demonic oppression Jesus faced was a type that spawned such deranged drives for power and wealth as Adolf Hitler and the Nazis possessed, where one culture tries to completely annihilate another in the quest for dominance or world power. You see, Jesus had to face the worst Satan had. He couldn't just win a victory over some low-level, expendable, second-rate demon that simply afflicts or torments. He couldn't even deal with just a ruler of the darkness or principality. Jesus had to face Satan himself. And in doing so, Jesus defeated Satan on all 3 levels: spirit, soul, and body, which is a representation of mastering the flesh. So spiritual things can be open unto you, right? Quote, "And when the tempter came to him, he said, 'If thou be the Son of God, command that these stones be made bread.'" Matthew 4:3. Satan attempted to pressure Jesus with the worst torment of the physical body: the threat that the basic necessities to sustain life would not be met. The attempt failed. Number 2, Jesus defeated Satan on a level of the soul when Satan tried to tempt him to commit suicide. Satan took Jesus up to a high pinnacle of the temple in the holy city and began to pressure him in the emotional realm of the soul to commit suicide by jumping off the pinnacle. Quote, "And said unto him, If thou be the Son of God, cast thyself down, for it is written, He shall give his angels charge concerning thee, and in their hands they shall bear thee up, lest at any time thou should dash thy foot against a stone." Matthew 4:6. Jesus knew that God had given the angels charge concerning him, but he wasn't about to tempt God by jumping off the temple just because the devil told him to. You see, suicide is the last step into a state of hopelessness after a long battle with torments and fears. In that hopeless state, the person says to life, "You have no real answers." In that sense, it is the worst torment of the soul, and Jesus defeated Satan in that very arena. Satan may try to badger us in the soulish realm of our emotions, but today we have access to a perfect standing against soulish torment. That standing was given to us by Jesus, the Prince of Peace, and will sustain us no matter what Satan tries to do. Number 3, Jesus defeated Satan on a level of the spirit when Satan tried to tempt Jesus to worship him. It's interesting to note that when Satan tested Jesus in the physical realm, he used food, and when he tested him in his emotional realm of the soul, he used suicide. But when Satan tested Jesus in the realm of the human spirit, he used power and money by offering him the glory and the kingdoms of the world. Y'all hear that wind? We got this, I keep looking, it's picking up. It was howling. I ain't heard the wind howl in a long time. It was howling early this morning. It's starting to pick up again. They got this winter storm watch going on over here. I was about to say something about this. Oh, okay, about this level. It says, hold on. When you get to the, okay. But when Satan tested Jesus in the realm of the human spirit, he used power and money by offering him the glory of the kingdoms of the world. So as you, and I can see that happening as you are aligning your chakras or you bring your life into order, as you're gaining more spiritual wisdom and understanding and you're giving access to spiritual things, you're going to realize that you can do some supernatural things, right? Almost kind of at will, right? So remember, I think it was the last day we was here, I told you about this one teacher who teaches, he said, when cities begin to arise or supernatural powers begin to arise, he said, do not use them. He said, and if I catch you using them, because some people realize, oh shoot, I got some supernatural power. I can do some stuff, right? And they start holding meetings because this gift now has surfaced and they know how to use it, and they realize that it can be profitable, right? And it can be. But he was teaching us, he said, when these things begin to arise, he said, and they will, he said, don't use them. Don't go and try and use them and make money off them. In the church, we call that prostituting the gift, right? You're prostituting your gifts for filthy lucre sake, right? To gain money. You're giving out prophecies. You're going preaching for money and offerings out there and shaking your for a little cash, right? He said, don't go do that, right? Matter of fact, the one that I talked about it in, the video is entitled Gyrating That ASS, but I use dollar signs, right? Gyrating That for cash. That's in the title. Go watch that. I talked about it a little bit there. But what happens is when you get to that level where he tempted Jesus to jump off, and he offered him the fame and a fortune and stuff, that right there represents the supernatural gifts that will begin to be uncovered inside of you, that you will recognize and other people can clearly recognize about you. Don't give into it, because you can choose to. You can completely choose to, and you will make money. I'm telling you, stay in class. Don't do it. Don't jump off the mountain, right? Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. No matter how much you need the money, right? Because all these things are designed to strengthen your character. And some people decide to just take the money and run, right? But their end is not so sweet. I'm telling you, stay in class. So this is a representation of that happening with the spiritual body. And so those who were under his teaching, he said, if I catch you using it, he said, I'm going to make sure you'll never be able to use it again. Right. So, which when I first heard that, I'm like, well, that's a little bit harsh. You can't come shut my gift off. Right. But now I completely understand. Because somebody who has gone through and they understand, like, and can reach that avatar state, they can choose to shut your gift down, right? Especially, and not out of, oh, you out here doing this. No, it's literally, they think it all the way through, and they see that you're not just like benefiting yourself. So you think you're actually out here causing harm to people, right? You just kind of, when you should be teaching men how to fish, you're just giving them fish, keeping them coming back to you. Oh, the fish, man, I need the fish sandwich with some hot sauce on it, and give me a little bit of tartar sauce too. You're giving them fish instead of teaching them how to fish. And you're given a key at that point when you access the avatar state, when you can do that frequently, and you can go and you can lock their door back, right? Like, you in here causing problems. I'm gonna turn your switch off for the time being, right? You can cut it off and you can choose to cut it back on, right? But that seemed kind of harsh to me. And like, why would you give power to some people to have power over other people? But people are doing that at lower levels by playing with you and your emotions, right? They like the Pied Piper, right? And you dancing to their song, right? They are literally controlling you. But that power arises in you, and you should be mature enough not to deceive people with it, and not to lord over them with it, and not to take advantage of them with it, right? So stay in class. And now I can understand why he says when these powers start arising, or these supernatural gifts start arising in you, and they will. And I'm telling you, and they will. I know, I was like, holy crap, this is like really happening, right? And he came back and I gotta share something with my son about something I learned now. Some things make sense, right? Some things that I had been wondering about, and like, and it has to do with the realm of disembodied souls. Because when you get, or the church call them dead people or whatever, or the other realm, what happens is when you get to a higher level, or that chakra in you begins to open, not only can you see into the spiritual realm, but the spiritual realm can see you too. Matter of fact, they've been able to see you, but now what you're beginning to notice is that you can see a lot of them coming at you, right? Because now, oh, you got disembodied souls. Let me see. Let me make sure I explain this the right way. Don't be scared about this, y'all. But you have to understand what's happening spiritually. Because you have a body, right? When you get to a certain level of understanding, and some people who get possessed is because they've been doing something they shouldn't have did. They the ones that kind of took the money and run. So when something happened, they don't know how to back themselves out of a situation or how to fix it. What happens is you'll find out when you get to a certain level, so to speak, when you can now recognize, because they've been able to see you all the time, right? Now they recognize that you could possibly be a vehicle for them, right? You could be possessed, right? But you could also just pull the wisdom from that realm and bring it back here to help this realm, right? Which is the way it should be, right? You shouldn't be allowing spirits to come in and drive your car, right? You, the owner of this vehicle, should be the only one driving, right? But when you get to a certain level and you realize that, you will realize that that can happen, i.e. like the fusions on a spiritual level. Like people, y'all probably in the occultic world, or church calls it channeling the spirits. When you get to that level and you can recognize that. But what happens is, if you don't understand and you just think, oh, this is cool, oh, come into me such and such and help me do this, it'll be a good dancer and get through my things, and you go in here channel the spirits. And when you channel the spirit, you can change your name, because we know, okay, you channeling such and such. Actors do this all the time in Hollywood, y'all. I'm telling y'all, they've learned something, but some of them, they find themselves at a horrible end. Because the spiritual realm is more real than what you know. The spiritual realm is more real than this natural realm, right? I will go as far to say that right now we're asleep in the matrix. And when you go to sleep at night, when you dream, that's when you're really awake, right? Because all of this is put to sleep and you can see what's really going on. Although you don't understand, you halfway remember what you dream. But when you get to a certain point, you begin to understand how to bring back you can kind of have your memory unlocked to where you can see and understand what your dreams are trying to tell you, right? So this level right here, when Satan had him up on the top of the mountain, offering him the fame and fortune of the world, right? This was at the level some people get, right? When the spirit, well, let's not say the spiritual world becomes knowledgeable of them, they become knowledgeable of the spiritual realm and the things, the benefits, and how it could benefit them, right? Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Stay in class, y'all. I'm telling y'all, please stay in class. Everybody is tempted with it. You are not gonna get to that level and not be tempted to take those roads. I'm telling you. Do not take them. That is not why. That is not why we were sent here, right? And that'll happen on certain levels. But don't get off at the wrong stop, y'all. You're gonna see different doors are gonna just open. You can just begin to manage. Don't do it. Just stay in class. Stay in class until you've been fully regenerated. And it's a process that happens every month. There's actually something that happens every single month, like I told you the other day, with your bodies. And if you can kind of keep track of the clock in the sky, and I'm gonna show you how to, because I'm doing it, and you'll begin to see, like I'm seeing little different. I was like, holy crap, this is real, right? I'm gonna start teaching you about some of it and how to track it, right? So you can do it. There should be a couple days, at least a couple days out the month where you fast. You may not have worked yourself up to a full water fast or a complete fast where you don't do anything for a couple days, right? You don't consume anything but air for a couple days. But you can move in steps, right? You can move in steps. But what happens each month? Remember I told you about the cerebral spinal fluid? There's a seed every month that's generated. When it gets to that place where it's lying dormant, those days, that's when you should fast, right? Don't overburden the body. You want that seed to pass through, because what happens is when it resurrects, or when it rises from the grave, right? When it's resurrected the death, burial, and resurrection, when that happens in your body, when it comes up and it makes its path up here through here, it'll be untainted. It'll be pure. The oil will be pure, and you will get a little more enlightenment every single month, right? And you'll begin to see it. You'll begin to see your growth spiritually. You'll begin to understand a little bit more. And that's the regeneration. It's like a monthly regeneration, right? A fresh filling every single month, right? We want to call it the anointing of the Holy Spirit or refilling of the Holy Spirit. It will happen every single month. It happens physically in your body every single month. But if you're constantly stuffing yourself with food, especially when that happens during that period in the month, you're gonna pollute it, and the seed is not gonna do what it should do. And now your blood is just toxified, right? But you'll also find when you do that, not only will you get spiritual enlightenment, it's going to heal the body, and your blood is going to be cleansed, right? It helps you spiritually, physically, mentally, and emotionally, right? And your body is literally regenerated every single month, right? So if we had been taught about this, if we had been taught about this early on from childhood, we could have been experiencing these regenerations every single month from the time we were little kids. And just think about where we would be at today. This is one of the secrets to long life, right? Not hitting and missing, who start doing good later. No. There is a secret, not a secret, well, it's a secret because you don't know on how they live so long, right? I'm like, holy crap, we gotta get this going, right? Until you are completely regenerated to the point to where it's like, this, y'all probably can't even fathom this at the moment. It's like you can literally tap into eternal life, right? We'll get into it. I'm still working through it, right? But I know it's working. I can feel it. I can see it. I can see it sometime when I open my eyes. I'm like, oh, something is happening. But that is why I said we have to learn just a little bit about astrology. We ain't got to get into the deep details. I'm going to just show you how to drive the car. You just need a working understanding. This is where you put the key in that here, and go. It'll operate, right? A lot of times a lot of us are not mechanics. We're not manufacturers. We don't necessarily know how the car is put together. We know it's an engine in there. We know we got to put gas in it. We have a working understanding to move and keep it maintained, right? So I'm going to kind of give you that. I'm going to kind of give you that working understanding because they practice it in ancient Kemet. And not just ancient Kemet, which they've changed to Egypt, Mitzrayim, all these. But this is what they practice, right? Joseph practiced this, right? Remember I told you, Israel, the unruly young calf, yoke it to an ox. Who was that ox? Ancient Kemet was that ox because ancient Kemet was keeping these things, right? Think about it. Just like really think about this. If it was evil, like this is Bruno. We got to talk about Bruno, right? Why would y'all, like what they were doing were filthy, why would y'all use someone like Joseph? Like you got, because think about Joseph before he got sold by his brethren. He ran his mouth a lot, right? He was pissing everybody off. Well, I'm sick of your mouth. You talking about you gonna be better than us. Although he had truths, right? But he was kind of flaunting his dreams and stuff in front of his brothers. And they was like, we sick of your mouth, man. Get out of here. Y'all know how sometimes little brothers and little sisters can be. Man, get out of here. What? And you better not tell Mama Daddy. What? It was like that, right? Y'all had to grow Joseph up. Ancient Kemet was the best place to put him because they had all the pieces of the puzzle in ancient Kemet or ancient Kamata, right? There. They had all the pieces. Before Rome came in and started screwing with them and chopped them up too, they had all the pieces. That's why when you look at ancient Kemet, remember when Pharaoh said to Moses, he said when he went in, it's not in the Bible, it's in one of the other things. When Pharaoh was boasting, he was like, our children. He said, our children, like our babies, know more magic than your people. Like, that's pretty much what he said. But not that they knew more magic. What we're taught that's magic now, it's not magic. It's like a understanding of nature and how to operate these bodies. Like, we ain't got to fight you, my G. We'll send the babies out. Like, we will send the nursing sucklings out against you. Not nursing, that's a little bit exaggeration. But like the toddlers, like Bella. I'm going to send Bella out against you. What? What? Our children know more than you. And think about if we had continued to grow like that, where we would be now, right? Do you know what was inside the pyramids, y'all? All these things that they're cutting down, what was inside of those things? These was like ascension chambers, right? Because ancient Kemet had knowledge of the bodies and how they operate. And like, let me not get ahead of myself. But anyway, we're going to talk about it. We're going to get into it. But I got to give you a working knowledge. And when I give you a working knowledge, that's why I said, don't just sit here and listen to me talk. I'm giving y'all the working knowledge to go prove if I'm a heretic or not. To see if I'm talking a bunch of garbage. Go prove it. It's things that you can test in your own life. I'm going to show you how to look. I'm going to even give you a calendar. I ain't even going to give you the calendar. I'm going to just tell you what type of calendar you can get. I'll give you a couple of things where you look and you can see, just to kind of test it, just in case you don't have your counting down right. I'm going to give you a cheat sheet like the Moon app. The Moon app, if y'all been here, it has one in there, right? Each month, and they're good. The West is really good about this, y'all. Everybody has a piece of the puzzle. Although the West, they got shenanigans everywhere, but everybody has a piece of the puzzle that is on point. And the West is good for this. Well, it wasn't really the West that came up with it for real. Like, China had a big, the over India and East China, they're really good with this, right? They name different things like the year of the dragon and all this stuff. It's just different words. But when I realized, holy crap, wait a minute. So let me check over here and over here. But I'm gonna give you a working knowledge, just a little bit working knowledge of astrology and how you can line your own life up and begin to test it. So you can see when the oil of this Chrism seed is planted in your body every single month. And the one time, the one time out the entire year where you get the biggest explosion of gifts is the month you were born, right? And everything lines back up. Again, that cycle moves around, y'all, on your birthday, right? Which is, we're taught about birthdays and we went through fossilized customs. It's good that we kind of went through that and we can see how they teach about it. Now, when they teach about it, stay away from this, stay away from this. I'm glad we went through it the way we did. Now we can go back and we can bring the proper teachings. But this time, when I teach you this way, I'm going to give you a working knowledge how you can go test it and you can prove it in your own life. And then you tell me if you're not getting closer to Yah, if you're not getting more wisdom and revelation downloaded to you. Then you tell me, and then you tell me which way back to Yah, the ancient path, because you're going to begin to see it yourself, right? And then you're going to begin to see why they began to tell people to stay away from this, because there's so much power. It's always been about power, right? There's no good, there's no evil, there's only power. And then there are the ones who walk in love and those who walk in hate. And that will determine the output of that power on how it's used. Just like we talked about the house being powered. There's only power, right? Depending on what you were designed for, ceiling fan, your power is going to come out. We're going to see your power in a different way. If you were designed to be a light bulb, you're going to give light to the room. If you were designed to be a refrigerator, we're going to give you that same power, but now you're going to be able to cool and you're going to be able to freeze. You were designed to be a stove. Let's send you that same power. Now you can heat and you can bake, you can fry. We're going to send you to the microwave, that same source of power in the house, because my house is only hooked to one source of power. I just have different appliances that do different things to whereby when that one source of power that comes into my house will activate what it was designed to do. Same friggin' thing when the power of Yah fills us. We were designed to do different things, right? When that source of power is cut off, we die. We're stagnant. Nothing happens. So I'm going to give you working pieces of information, how to power, and so you can power your body and you can keep track of it every single month. Now, I want y'all to keep track of it. That's why I said we're going to hold off on our Zoom calls until we get enough time where you actually have some time to practice. And that's why I said there's going to be a test for those who actually get into the Zoom calls. Only the ones that can answer the questions correctly. And the only ones that's really going to be able to answer the questions correctly is the one who's actually practicing. You can tell them, oh, yeah, I've been praying this. Oh, we're going to see. We're going to see. We're going to see. That's why I'm like, y'all, stick with the 24 minutes. If you can't start with 24 minutes, by God, let's start with 5, right? But build from there. Jen, yes, we're going to discuss proper nutrition. All of these things, all of them work hand in hand, right? Because if you don't fix your diet, the food that you're putting in this body, in this vehicle, in this machine, in this avatar, that's going to cut you off. It's going to cut you off. Yes, Dana said we have a special gift. We need everyone working together in their gift. Exactly, which is everybody, even the ones here, all of us, we might be missing pieces of the body, but all of us here, just like our body, we can see truth in everything and how Yah has created everything. It's one source of power coming to my body, right? But that one source of power is powering the functions of my different members, right? Some of us here are fingers. Some of us here are feet. Some of us are fingers on the hand. Some of us are the actual palm of the hand. Some of us are kneecaps. Some of us are booty holes, right? Some of us are nostrils, some of us are eyes, some of us are ears. Everybody doesn't hear, everybody doesn't see. But in your gift, you are powered to do what you were sent here to do, right? Y'all ever watch, what's that cartoon? I used to watch it all the time. I think it's Voltron. Or even Transformers, even Transformers. How the different pieces form a bigger body. This is everywhere. Even through the movies and the cartoons, right? When you have somebody untaught that teaches you about a cartoon, they're going to show you all the things like that's wrong with it. It's like they're getting a hold of you to change your perception, and they got your perception looking one way. To when I can look at something, my perception is different. What are you talking about, right? Same thing. You have these things in life everywhere. Even as you wake up, you're going to have different paths that you can go. You can go to the left or you can go to the right. You can choose to look at it this way. Oh, my life is bad. When you start cleaning yourself and everything start going haywire, I say, I knew it. Trouble just follow me everywhere. No, it's popping up so you can see, so you can adjust it, so you can keep moving. These are surfacing so you can see the underlying problems that's causing your life to go out of whack, right? It's all about perception. It is always all about perception, y'all. Yeah, so we are going. Are you going to wait to show us the calendar? I should show it to you today okay, so let me remember. I'll give it to you today. And I got to explain a little bit more on how to use it. Okay. Everybody know okay, look. Just what the church taught you just for a moment, right? Remember, I've been talking to Bruno. And I've been testing some things. Remember, I've been talking to Bruno. Okay, so you know how they tell you to stay away from the horoscopes, right? Okay, I get why. I truly get why, if your perception is wrong. But you can use it. Everybody know what they are. I'm an Aries, right? My husband is a Gemini. I got 2 children, Gemini. I know everybody's sign, right? When I was testing this, because I was asking my mom, trying to find out, I was like, Mom, do you remember exactly what time we were born? Because I'm just trying to narrow it down with a science. So you can take your Virgo. Okay, so I'm gonna share just a little bit about this. So when I give you all the calendar, and I'll also, when I post a picture, I'm gonna try and reiterate some of these things so you can know what to do and make it simple as possible. Okay, so with the calendar, with the moon calendar, you got a rising, you got a sun sign, which is the you got a sun sign and you got a moon sign. Your sun, everybody pretty much knows their sun sign, right? It was where the sun was in the sky the day you were sent here to the earth. When your rocket ship arrived here, right? When you were delivered here, guys. Ooh, look, Moses, you will wonder, if you ever think about it, you gotta wonder why, if ancient Kemet now I'm talking about when they got to the shenanigans. If ancient Kemet or ancient Egypt was so bad, why is y'all always sending his people there? He needed them to learn something, because remember, Israel, they sometimes they more pagan than the pagans, right? They want to do everything. We want to let us do what the nations do. No, my G, stop it. Go on to Egypt. Go on. Put you in bondage. Go there. Learn how to do something right? Because ancient Kemet had all the pieces. Okay, so Joseph operated in this, right? And as he grew, he operated in this. Moses, remember Moses' baby, the boys was killed. He got sent to Egypt, the river, everything. He grew up there. He learned all of these things. He knew these things. I.e., when Yah begins to activate him, begin to wake him up just a little bit, and how he begins to go ascend the mountain. Guys, there is hidden truths behind every single Bible story in this Bible. So now it's like y'all done moved me over a couple ticks as well, right? So I'm like, holy crap. I'm like, you know what? This was cool the way you did this, because I was like full in before you ticked me over. Now I'm just like, holy crap. All this time? And I've been sitting here reading this like, wait a minute. I was like, wait a minute. But that's cool though. I like had to be in full character. Like I really had to believe the stories, right? So now let's move you over a couple clicks. Now go back and read the stories again. I'm like, so that's how it is. Okay. So you're looking at your sun sign. So what happens is, and we're gonna get into understanding birthdays and Christmas. Remember, birthdays once a year, Christmas once a year. Israel, you see it in Israel too, and you see it in the Old Testament. I'm beginning to connect it. I'm seeing it all the way across the board. Israel, the sins were forgiven once a year as a whole, as a community, right? This is a representation of something, right? It takes time, which is a period of time, because it takes time for growth, right? As you're growing through and you're cleaning up your life, or you're aligning your chakras, or you're bringing light into your body, whatever, however you want to term it, right? It takes time. It takes days. Things you have to focus. You literally have to do things. You have to make amends for different things, right? And after a full cycle of a year, it's like you being birthed again, right? But we got help every single month, because this is a physical process that takes place in the body, but and I'm coming up on a birthday. That's why I'm testing. So I was like, oh, I'm excited to see what happened in March this year, my birthday. I'm just like, I be getting so excited about this. So every single year, like on your birthday, right? It's like your birthday. It's like being born again. There's like a fresh feeling. It's like you can experience it throughout the year, but there's a bigger burst on that month where you're born, the day you actually descended here, or you were the day you were born, right? Without getting into so many terms. And so also I began to connect some pieces. Like my sister, I said she's an RN, she worked in a hospital. I used to always hear, oh, well, when the full moon is out, this and that. And she said, Pam, she said that is true. She said a full moon, they got different code words in the hospital, because a lot of them don't necessarily understand spiritual principles, except for the ones who do. And they realize, and my sister would share with me, like on these particular days, on full moons, like she said, the hospital is the busy. She said it never fails, always. And this. And as I began to notice about some of the things that I found in Bruno's room, in Bruno's tower, we don't talk about Bruno, no. We don't talk about Bruno. You can get ahead of these things, right? Like, okay, this is coming up. This is why this is happening. Okay, you definitely should be fasting around this point. Like I said, it ain't got to be a complete fast, but here's what's going to happen. I'm going to give you the calendar, and it's going to show you the Zodiac signs, right? Remember, just stick with me. The words that everybody know, like these not scary terms, but I want you to test it. You're going to see the calendar, and it's going to be the Gregorian calendar. And by golly, even though they changed time, they didn't still kept the clock in the sky with the calendar superimposed over it. And I'm going to try and screenshot this month so I can kind of point out so you can see, right? I'm going to try and give you as much detail. I'm going to try and explain it in a way where I'm not being too long-winded, but I want to make sure y'all get it. And if you don't, just please ask me a question in the comment section, because I want to make sure, and I'll go back and I'll keep editing if something is not too clear, just to make sure you're getting it. But you're going to get it when you test it. You're going to see exactly what I'm talking about. Just like I told you in like the earlier couple years, I said I wasn't actually understanding the clock in the sky and the new moon cycle and all that stuff until I actually started observing it, right? I could look all day and read stuff until I actually started getting out there, observing it myself. I'm like, holy crap. Everything began to click, lights began to come on. I'm like, okay, I get this. So learning It's not just sitting, listening to lectures and reading books. There has to be a testing period. There has to be experimentation time so that is going to bring a whole nother level of understanding, and it's going to show you if your thoughts are off, if you've learned something that is off a little bit, something is going to be triggered when you actually get into the experimentation portion of it. Think about science class. You going through doing, well, okay, I gave you the formula. You done did it. You got it right. Why is yours blowing up? What did you do? Did you use a little too much? Did you not use enough? Are you missing that ingredient, right? It's to help you get practice with doing everything so you can actually see what's going on. Until you actually practice, you really won't understand, and you lost, and you will just stay away from Bruno's room. We don't talk about Bruno, no, until the house is completely burnt to the ground, right? So the house is completely burnt to the ground because you refuse to listen to Bruno. What was Bruno saying? Bruno has an ingredient that we need, right, to keep the lights on. Okay. So I'm going to put that in there. But what happens, you will see on this calendar your sign. And the moon sign in this, it shows the death, burial, and resurrection that happens every single month, right? And it happens in your body. So it shows you every single month and every single day, whether it's 30 days or 31 days, you will see that the sun and the moon goes through the cycle of all 12 houses, all 12 signs, zodiac signs. And it's within each house, within each sign, or for 2 or 3 days, representing the 2.5 days, right? So, when you look at the calendar, when your sign comes up, right? So when your sign comes up, you will either have 2 days where, Marie, you say I'm a Virgo. So you will either have 2 days in a month where you will see your Virgo sign. Those should be the days that you fast, right? When you see your sign, sometime you may see it come in twice a month, but if it comes in twice a month, that means when this month started, you was like in that first week. And so if you was in the first week, you would get another day, maybe 2 days toward the end of the month because it's going into the next cycle. Still fast on those days, whether you're doing a juice fast or if you're eating food, you decide to just eat all raw foods. Just take steps. If you just can't not eat food at all, try just cutting your meals down for the day. You got to do something just to kind of practice to see what I'm talking about. Oh, yeah, Dana, he was definitely operating in the gift. He understood this. Moses definitely understood this, right? Okay. I know Moses understood this because when we were reading Legends of the Jews, and I did a video about it, I remember myself talking about it, and I was telling y'all that Moses knew what we would call magic, or he understood the dark arts because Israel was about to be annihilated. And it was one of these times that Israel had pissed y'all off, right? And he was pretty much saying, well, just take me and don't take them, right? And so what happened was he was going back and forth with y'all in this conversation. This particular one wasn't canonized. You won't find this one in Exodus, but you can see it being, this particular time being alluded to in Exodus, but over in the Legends, not the Wars of the Jews, the Legends of the Jews, it gives the bigger story. And it says Moses took his staff and he drew a circle, right? I was like, oh, there you go. He about to step up. Look, at he loved Israel so much. He was about to use what he knew on the flip side. Anytime I see somebody draw a circle and get in the middle of it, I know you about to perform some magic. And that circle is a circle of, that circle, drawing that circle around is representing the circle of protection. He got in the middle of it. And he was like, y'all, if you don't do it, I already know how to make it happen. And even if it takes my life at the end, right? Save your people, forgive them. I was like, holy crap. So when you see it, you'll begin to see it everywhere. Okay, so I'll show you that. And you can start doing that, and I'll begin to explain more and more. But since Audrey asked about the calendar, I'll go ahead and share it today, and I give you a working knowledge. I kind of reiterate and repeat some of the things that I said, so you can kind of start looking and just kind of test it. It ain't nothing. I ain't telling y'all to go get fish eggs and mix up concoctions and stuff. I'm simply telling you, just observe. Fasting ain't gonna kill you. That's nothing wicked. I'm telling you, just begin to fast and begin to notice how you're spiritually heightened in different times of the month. And it's because certain things that's going on in the body, it's kind of aligned to the clock in the sky. You know that saying, as above, so below. Some people would call that what's the word? A mystic term, or something the Illuminati says, but no. As it is above, so it is below. As it is in heaven, it is on earth. Everybody says it, but in their own words, right? As above, so below. Even with our body, what's going on up here happens down here. As above, so below, right? Everywhere, every friggin' where. Like, this is a body up here, and then below the neck is another body. Like, we're more than two living bodies, but even with the physical realm, which is why at all times, you should have two physical bodies operating. But even if one of those bodies are cut off, you still got this body that can move, right? If somebody gets paralyzed from the neck down, right, you still got this body that can be intact, right? It can be intact perfectly. It's just your lower body that's been cut off, right? And until you figure out how to connect what has been severed that caused this to die, this can still operate, right? Two bodies, just one has been cut off. And it's, guys, when you begin to understand this, you'll begin to see it everywhere. Which, when you begin to understand that, you'll begin to understand why the ignorant or those hungry for power, you don't really see them operating in miracles, right? Because when you understand how it happens, you can understand how to fuse it. Now, I haven't made it to that particular level of anointing where I can heal somebody, because other people can. But if you begin to understand, you can begin to operate in it, you can also heal yourself. You really wouldn't have need to have anybody lay hands on you, right? If you begin to understand, if you were taught about it like they were in the ancient of days, you would literally be able to heal yourself, right? And get things operating, bring strength back to things. But it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight, and that's what kind of trips us up, because we are a microwave society. We want everything now. But it's a process. And y'all has been showing us that it's a process from the very beginning. You have to learn how you have to grow. Think about children growing, right? There are some things that they just can't handle at an early age. They can't even handle food at an early age. They just need milk. But you will be able to, but the time is not now, right? I'm not saying, like church say, it's not denied. It's just hold on, or it's just wait a minute, or not now doesn't mean deny. All those cute sayings they come up with in the church when they pray for something and God don't give it to them right then and there. No, there's some growth that needs to happen before I can release that type of anointing or that type of gift to you. I ain't giving my keys to my 5-year-old daughter. There's growth. There's understanding. Perception needs to develop. All these things. It takes time, right? So if we can understand that, we can get out of that microwave state like, oh, I'm pissed. Yeah, delayed is not denial. Thank you, Dana. Delayed is not denial. We can kind of break ourselves from that and understand that this is a journey and we should walk. Like, I used to have this recurring dream. I used to always get mad because it seemed like I was always running this race, but it seemed like I was the slowest. And people they passing by me, and I would get upset. And it seemed like I couldn't run any fast. I was trying to, but it was like I was running. It was just like I kept this steady pace. I wasn't like running slow, but I was running slow compared to those that were passing me up. And then I would wake up, but I could see it in my life. And I'm like, well, it seemed like, I'm like, oh my gosh. Even when I was younger, I began to notice. I gave you the story. I was like, my sister praying in tongues. I was like, I had asked one, but she praying in tongues. She was like 7, 8 years old. And I'm like, well, how come I'm not speaking in tongues? At this inward thing, right? But there was some growth because of the particular gift I have and the particular place where I fit into the overall body needs me to slow down and pay attention to everything, right? But in my dreams, also in my latter dreams, I realized that some of those people that had passed me up at me moving at my steady pace, I began to look at them on the side of the road. I'm like, You done passed me up a long time ago. And I'm still moving at my steady pace, right? Now I understand that, right? Now I completely understand this. There were things I had to learn about, and I'm about to be 43 in March, right? Sometimes I look at younger people, it's like, you got these younger people in the church preaching up, and I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Like, and it would frustrate me to no end. And I'm like, maybe I'm just moving slow. I'm just give myself more to prayer because I know I got gifts. What are my freaking gifts? Like, I feel like I was Maribel. Like, the door disappeared on me. Like, we can see everybody else good. What am I good for? What can I do good at? So I would try to give my best. I help out where I can, because I'm like, what type of gift do I have? So I would just kind of overdo it, and I would love people a little bit more. I forgive them a little bit more. Okay, you need help? I can help. Okay, whatever. If I can't help physically, I'm going to give you money, right? I'm going to just give you money to fix it. Yes, babe.
I have a question.
Yes.
Don't y'all have work?
Boy, get out of here. See? It's operating out the flesh.
Like, it's been 2 hours. She started at 7. It is 9 o'clock.
Don't you have to go to work?
Yes, it's
How you know all of them don't own their own business? And this is a meeting of the business minds. How do you like not know that? Don't come in here and do that. Get out of here.
See,
I know
business owners.
Go to work.
They will be working right now and working. They would be doing stuff early in the morning and not
okay, let me look. Hold on. Hold on. Wait.
Afternoon.
Come here. Come back in the camera. Come back in the camera. Come back in the camera.
Everybody know early morning is where work. You gotta work like the white man. Early morning is work.
Don't use those
afternoon.
Terms. Listen.
And you gotta go to sleep by 9.
Hush. Look. Wait. First of all, look. When you sit here, no. Hush. Why you sitting here running off at the mouth while you not at work? Before you answer that, who do you work for? Before you answer that, child of a business owner, who owners set the time that they go to work, and you go to work because you are the son of the business owner. Said business owners. But you coming to work late. But people, why he get to come in? Oh, that's the boss's son. What? Get out my kitchen.
What?
Get out my kitchen.
What?
Get out my kitchen. Thank you. We got self-employed. Thank you, Janard. We got self-employed people here.
I am not like that. I am not like that.
When do you get to work?
That come and prance around.
No. Oh, but sometimes you do. And I be, because your daddy said me.
I am working like a Richmond job. Oh yeah, for sure. I'm gonna take my sweet time. I had no.
You gonna be taking your sweet time in your room when you ain't getting a paycheck? Get out of here. Go on out there.
It's all good. Engineering job waiting for me.
Bye, son.
Calling my name.
Look, right. Thank you. They're on different time zones. It's going on. It's after 9. It's after 9 o'clock here. It's 6 a.m. in California.
What?
So they ain't even got to be to work yet. See, you come in here all up in the Kool-Aid and don't know the flavor.
That's only because that's only because
Audrey in California. Okay, we got a few people. We got Audrey in California. We got Janard in California. We got Jen in California. Okay, Callie in the house. So while you all up in here in all Kool-Aid, you possibly should know the flavor next time. Get on up out of here. We're gonna pause right here, y'all. We still didn't finish the chapter. So I'm gonna share that stuff in the community section today, y'all. Jen said the sun ain't even up yet over there.
Y'all in some bad times. What are y'all talking about?
Time zones. We'll get into time zones too. We'll share about a lot of the stuff that I've learned. All right, y'all. So with that being said, Bella must still be asleep. She ain't came down here. She woke? Mm-hmm. Tell her I said, what's she doing?
Upstairs on her little switch.
Oh, okay. All right, y'all. Well, let me just do the recap real quick. We'll pause. I'll find my place, but we'll finish this chapter tomorrow. So, y'all, thank you for hanging out. I'm going to share this stuff with y'all. It is Monday, January the 3rd, 2022, day 344 of year 3 of reading through the books of the Law and the Prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 1012. We read a little bit more, chapter 13, and Walk of the Spirit, the Walk of Power, and we finished reading 3rd Maccabees, chapter 7, and we started in the last book of Maccabees, which is 4th Maccabees, chapter 1. All right, y'all. It's after 10 here. Barbados. Linda's in Barbados. Okay. I want to go to I want to visit Barbados. I want to visit Barbados. I really do. Like me and my husband, we're gonna get a. We've been looking into like different little timeshares of different things where we can travel because those will benefit us now because we have a huge family and it costs us a lot. So it was like, well, we might benefit from having something like that now. Save us. Oh my gosh, spend so much money on hotel rooms and.
I looked up hotel room.
So,
it makes no sense. They said, $3,000 for a week. Nigga, what?
Yeah, depending on where you stay. If you want to stay somewhere good, we like to stay in good places where we go. We ain't trying to be scared for our life.
4-star, 3-star. I'm like, bro, why y'all costing so much?
It's everything that you get.
What? A bed and TV
And
Wi-Fi that don't even work?
Well, that must be a terrible place that you done got.
That's all the hotels we went to.
Oh, no.
Digging I had to do for that Wi-Fi?
Yeah, their Wi-Fi do be kind of suck. But they be offering a cut, though. The hotels that we get be offering a cut. So sometimes they may not be close to a tower, which is why I got the portable Wi-Fi. But we got good hotels that we go to.
Portable Wi-Fi? You haven't told me about this?
Boy! Oh, because you weren't hooked to it. The smaller kids, they switches and stuff hooked to it. All right, let me end this. You been tracking every day? Okay, very good. This is good, Jen. Okay, y'all. So, but anyway, I'm gonna just go ahead and end this without her because it's gonna take a few more minutes, and she gonna probably have attitude. So we'll bring Bella back in to close it out tomorrow. So we'll go ahead and do the blessing, y'all. We gotta get out of here. What's the truck good? Oh, okay. All right, y'all. So remember, the blessing is found in. Hold on, where's my thing at? Oh, there we go. Okay, the blessing is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, Yahuwah will kneel before us presenting gifts, and will guard us with a hedge of protection. Yahuwah will illuminate the wholeness of his being towards us, bringing order, and he will provide us with love, sustenance, and friendship. Yahuwah will lift up the wholeness of his being and look upon us, and he will set in place all we need to be whole and complete. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people. I love y'all. I'll get that stuff posted for y'all. If y'all got any questions, Lisa, shalom. If y'all got any questions or if it's something that I put up there is unclear, please say something because I want to make sure I'm as clear as possible, right? Because as people, I notice now as people coming that I use hashtags and it'll draw certain types of people, especially people who haven't been here where I've been telling you, okay, some of these terms may be scary because the church been taught you one way. Might be off-putting until we understand, but please stay with me so I can break it down and I can explain it to you. I'm going to show you so you can go look at it yourself. I got some of them people coming in. Now, I responded to a couple people. This is a couple Israelites. Hebrew Israelites, whatever you want to call them, but they'll make a post, sister, you're going in the wrong direction. You don't want to lead people astray. You were doing good. Don't get off track. And I'm like, I can tell that you just came or you jumping around the videos and you're not paying attention to what I'm saying. I said, but welcome to my dojo. I said, go back and watch some of the things. But you know what they do? They remove their own comment. I don't delete their comment. I'll respond to them just to make sure their perception is right because I can tell based on their comment, their perception is completely wrong because they found me. I popped up in that. I'm starting to pop up in some of the occultic term things when you find it when churches, people from church, they looking, okay, well, what is this? And they may see me popping up and they'll listen and they are still scared and they haven't spent time actually listening to what I'm saying. So they'll leave a comment, Sister, Jesus is the way. And I'm like,
oh, a make-believe person is the way? Is what you're talking about?
So I'm getting some of those comments and inboxes about things like that. But people who leave comment when I respond to them, I'm not nasty to them. I'll just try to fix their perception just a little bit so they can see. Take some time. Don't just pull out things. Don't nitpick. Actually listen to the whole of what I said, right? They'll delete. I've noticed they've been deleting their own comments when I respond to them. I mean, which is cool, right? So you don't want to speak or respond before you know the full matter, right? So that's what we're trying to also learn. We're trying to grow, okay? Let's not answer before let's see it out first. Let's look at the full thing, right? Yes, thank you, Mom, because I almost forgot. Today, we're moving. Oh, yes, it's a new moon. I was talking about it a little bit, but I should have said it. My mom just sent me a text. New moon. we probably won't see it here today, but we're starting a new monthly cycle, new moon cycle, and everybody's looking for it to spot it, right? And if we calculate it correctly, we'll see the moon show up towards evening tonight, which will begin a new moon cycle, which is perfect that I'm posting this today. We got a brand new month where we can everybody. We are like literally at the beginning. We can practice when the calendar and the fast. I'm gonna show you how to look at it. We're starting literally at a new cycle. So I'm gonna post that. So all right, I'm about to be done in like 2 minutes. So we're at a new moon cycle. So be watching for that. If it's sunny where you're at, be looking for it. Try to spot the new moon. If not, I'm gonna be watching the other places, see when they spot it, because if it's cloudy, we can't see it, right? We under a winter storm warning watch for the I think it's to the end of the day, right? And the wind been howling and stuff. So remember that, which means if the new moon is spotted today, the Sabbath will shift. So it'll shift from Sunday, and now it will be on Mondays. And so we'll be taking a break on Mondays now, right? Okay. So with that being said, beautiful people, I love y'all. I will see y'all back here tomorrow morning, bright and early, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And to the people who are on other time zones, y'all the real MVPs. Because some of y'all be getting up 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning to be here, right? May y'all bless you and increase you and rest you supernaturally throughout the day, right? Especially y'all coming here to hear me run my mouth. I love y'all. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Bruce. Oh, she here. Oh, you brought it here. Go ahead and end it. I done did the blessing. You want to end it? You want to press the button? Say bye, y'all. All right, y'all. We already did the blessing. Peace. Go ahead and end it, Paul. Working on discipline. Aren't we all, Renee? We all are.